The hidden dangers of an unforgiving heart. Many of us think that as long as we don't physically harm anyone, we're doing fine before God. We say things like, "At least I haven't killed anyone," or "I'm not as bad as others." But Jesus, in his Sermon on the Mount, revealed a deeper truth, that sin doesn't start with the hands, it starts with the heart. In Matthew 5 verses 21 to 26, Jesus goes beyond the external act of murder to expose the inner condition that leads to it: anger, bitterness, and unresolved offense. He teaches that what happens in your heart toward another person is just as important as what happens in your actions. Let's unpack this passage together and see why Jesus emphasized reconciliation as a key part of true worship and godly living. In verse 21, Jesus begins by saying, "You have heard that our ancestors were told, 'You must not murder. If you commit murder, you are subject to judgment.'" This was part of the Old Testament law, Exodus 20 verse 13. The Jews understood that murder was a serious crime deserving punishment. But Jesus didn't come just to repeat the law. He came to fulfill it and reveal its deeper meaning. In verse 22, he continues, "But I say, if you are even angry with someone, you are subject to judgment." What a shocking statement. Jesus wasn't saying that anger itself is always sinful, because there is righteous anger, for example, anger at injustice or evil. But he was speaking about harboring anger, the kind that turns into hatred, resentment, or bitterness. This kind of anger poisons your heart. It's silent murder. It destroys relationships, peace, and your fellowship with God. Jesus goes further. If you call someone an idiot, you are in danger of being brought before the court. And if you curse someone, you are in danger of the fires of hell. This may sound extreme, but Jesus was showing us that our words have spiritual consequences. You may never lift your hand against someone, but if you constantly insult, curse, or demean them, you are committing violence with your tongue. Proverbs 18 verse 21 says, "Death and life are in the power of the tongue." An angry word can destroy a person's confidence, a friendship, or even a marriage. God takes this seriously because it shows what's hidden in your heart. You see, God doesn't just watch what we do, He watches why we do it. Then Jesus says something even more surprising. So if you are presenting a sacrifice at the altar in the temple, and you suddenly remember that someone has something against you, leave your sacrifice there at the altar. Go and be reconciled to that person. Then come and offer your sacrifice to God. Matthew 5 verses 23 to 24. In other words, reconciliation comes before worship. Imagine standing in church, singing, praying, or giving your offering, and God saying, "Stop. Go make peace first." That's how important relationships are to God. He is not impressed by outward religion while your heart harbors unforgiveness. Worship is not just about lifting hands. It's about lifting a pure heart. If there's someone you've offended, or someone who has something against you, Jesus says the first step is to make peace. In verses 25 to 26, Jesus gives a practical illustration. When you are on the way to court with your adversary, settle your differences quickly. Otherwise, your accuser may hand you over to the judge, and you will be thrown into prison. Here, he's not just talking about earthly courts. He's pointing to spiritual imprisonment. When you refuse to forgive or to seek reconciliation, you trap yourself in a prison of bitterness, guilt, and unrest. Unforgiveness holds you captive. It steals your peace and joy. You find it hard to pray, hard to worship, hard to love, because your heart is chained by offense. Jesus says, settle it quickly. Don't delay. The longer you wait, the deeper the wound grows, and the harder your heart becomes. Reconciliation doesn't mean you agree with everything the other person did. It means you value peace more than pride. It means you are willing to let go, not because they deserve it, but because you deserve peace. God is not impressed by religious rituals. He looks for sincerity of heart. Psalm 24 verses 3 to 4 says, "Who may climb the mountain of the Lord? Who may stand in his holy place? Only those whose hands and hearts are pure, who do not worship idols and never tell lies." You cannot approach God in bitterness and expect His presence to fill your life. Before you lift your hands to worship, lift your heart for cleansing. Ask yourself, is there anyone I haven't forgiven? Is there someone I need to apologize to? Have I spoken words that hurt another person? These questions aren't meant to condemn you, but to heal you. Because every time you choose reconciliation, you look more like Jesus, the one who reconciled us to God through his own sacrifice. When Jesus hung on the cross, he looked at those who mocked, betrayed, and crucified him, and said, "Father, forgive them, for they don't know what they are doing." Luke 23 verse 34. That is the ultimate picture of reconciliation. He had every reason to be angry, but instead, he chose love. You and I are called to do the same, not because it's easy, but because it's the way of Christ. Ephesians 4 verses 31 to 32 says, "Get rid of all bitterness, rage, anger, harsh words, and slander. Instead, be kind to each other, tender-hearted, forgiving one another, just as God through Christ has forgiven you." When you forgive, you reflect God's heart. When you make peace, you demonstrate true maturity and faith. Don't let anger, pride, or offense live rent-free in your heart. Don't allow a grudge to block your prayers or silence your worship. If someone has wronged you, forgive them. If you've wronged someone, seek forgiveness. Reconciliation is not weakness, it's strength. It's not loss, it's gain. It's the key that unlocks peace with God and peace within yourself. Jesus said, "Blessed are the peacemakers, for they shall be called the children of God." Matthew 5 verse 9. Today, make the choice to be that peacemaker. Before you go to the altar, before you sing another song, before you make another offering, make peace first. Because when you do, your worship will rise from a heart that's free, forgiven, and filled with God's presence. Don't just avoid murder, avoid hatred. Don't just worship with your lips, worship with a clean heart. Forgive quickly, love deeply, and live peacefully. That's the kind of righteousness that pleases God. If this message spoke to your heart, don't just keep it to yourself. Share it with someone who needs to hear it today. Let's spread the message of love, forgiveness, and reconciliation that Jesus taught us. Leave a comment below and tell us what part of this teaching touched you the most. Like this video if it blessed you. Share it to bless others. And don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more powerful Bible teachings and daily inspiration that will help you grow in your walk with God. Remember, true worship begins with a pure heart and a reconciled spirit.